Wanted to create a quick video explaining how AI agents work using an analogy of a travel agent. So let's take an example of let's say I want to book a trip to US for 10 days. So I call my travel agent and I give my dates and my locations, and my travel agent will create an itinerary for me, and he will send me the itinerary, and if I say okay, he'll go ahead and book everything for me, right? So if we break down the process of the travel agent, the first process would be planning. So the first step would be he takes the location, he creates a 10-day plan, which includes your airline bookings, hotel reservations, car services. He look for cost optimizations. He look for the timing of the flights. He look for minimum layover time and all those things. So he'll have to do some sort of planning to create the itinerary. Now, once the itinerary is created, the next thing would be what does he. So, if I am working with this agent for a really long time, he knows my preferences, right? So he would pick out those airlines for me, my favorite airlines, my preferred seats, my preferred hotels, and all those things. So he'll try and include those uh, things into the itinerary, right? Now, once he has a draft plan, uh, he can either send the plan to me and I can have a look at it, and if I give a go ahead, he'll go ahead and book the flights. Now, for booking the flights, he'll look out for tools available to him, like hotel reservation systems, flight booking systems, car rental services. What tools are available to him to make the bookings, right? And the last step is to actually make the booking and send me the final itinerary with all the booking details, right? So similarly, an AI agent follows these four processes. So the first process is planning, and in the planning process is where we use the large language model. So large language models are used for the planning purposes, and we can take an example of an AI travel agent over here. So if I give a query to the AI travel agent saying that give me an 10-day itinerary for my trip to US for these dates. So again, the LLM model will see. First, it will try and analyze the query. It will see what it needs to do. It needs to get a 10-day itinerary. So it will do some sort of reasoning. That's where your React agent comes into picture. So React is reasoning and action. So the first step, what the AI agent will do is it has to plan the travel. It has to create a 10-day trip to US. So it will look out for the tools available to him, where it can fetch relevant information and create a plan, right? So that's step one. Step two is memory. So memory in terms of agents can be a short-term memory or a long-term memory. A short-term memory is the memory of that particular session. So whatever interaction you have been having with that agent during that session, that is fed into the model, and the model uses that information to respond better to user's query. And a long term memory would be information available in an external database, which the model can fetch to respond better, right? Then the third thing is the tools. So again, the agent will look out for, like, the model will look out for tools available tools available to fulfill the user's request. Now, with the recent white paper which Google published, it included three main types of tools available. One is extensions, second is functions, and third is the data stores. Now, extensions are tools which the agents can execute directly. Right? It can be an API call, it can be a third party API call, but that API can be executed in the agent environment, in the agent infrastructure. So that's what an extension is. The next thing is the function. So Function is similar to a normal function which we use in coding, right? But the main difference between extension and function is that a function is not executed by the agent. A function So how the functions work is the LLM will figure out that, okay, the we can use this particular function to fulfill user's query with these parameters, but the execution happens on the client side application. The agent infrastructure doesn't execute those functions. So it is uh, it is basically used for security purposes. So there can be a scenario where the agent infrastructure doesn't have the right security tokens, right authentication to execute those functions or to make those API calls. So that's where you would make use of functions and execute those functions onto the client side application. Then the next thing is your data store. Your data store is where you store additional information which can be helpful for the model to fulfill users request. And this is where your RAG comes into picture. I'll create a separate video for RAG, but in a nutshell, these are the three main types of tools available to an AI agent. And the last thing is the action. So action is where it takes the action, executes those required functions, or makes those required API calls and collect the information, create a proper plan, and then respond to the user.